Alright guys, such Kremp again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far with Black Ops 7 getting officially confirmed, big drama emerging onto what might be banned from the game and what might still be allowed by the pro players. Scrappy, Shotzzy, Dashy getting into it over the last couple of days in terms of gentlemen's agreement, what specialists might be allowed, whether the snipers are going to be back in the game, and what Scrappy has to say on this opinion as a whole. Will the CDL allow the pros to do what they want this season? Will they have a stronger hand in saying what the game is played to be? Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. Good place to start really here because, you know, look, if there's a Black Ops 3 clip, we are going to talk about it. This was aBeZy with a nice little 1 versus 3. Gets the kill on Armand on bomb, kills Drazah. TJ is in a 1v1. TJHaLy's out. He's a little bit weak here, but then hits the glitch, goes behind him and gets the kill. So Glitch is a brilliant specialist ability. I'm hoping that it might be back in some form going forwards. I think most people kind of agree, yeah, was Heatwave a bit cheese? Yeah, was Camo, Kinetic a bit cheese? Yeah, sure, but both teams had them, of course. Glitch is pretty much well renowned as like, yeah, that specialist took skill, and when it worked, it was spectacular to witness. Shotzzy says is COD back the other day, but I will say, hold your horses just a little bit for a couple of reasons, one of which is the following, because Reality UK, who did lots of leaks about BO7, there's talk about the Maddox coming back from him, the M8 and other weapons. We've seen some of that stuff already confirmed. But after, like, I don't want to talk about the year after, whatever, because there was even talk recently about Advanced Warfare 2 coming way down the line with exactly what Sledgehammer are cooking up down the line. But as we know, after this upcoming year's game, it's back to Infinity Ward, and it's going to be Modern Warfare 4. I can't wait. Everyone knows Modern Warfare 2, the most recent one, not great. Modern Warfare 3, much better, right? And I think you look at the maps they brought in during that game that Sledgehammer made, let's not forget, 6 Star, Rio, Vista, great maps. Like, 6 Star might be the best map of the CDL era. I don't know if that's a hot take, but it's got to be up there, right? Like, if you look at the maps in the CDL, you're going back to MW19, what was the best map there? Gunrunner. You look at Cold War, people like Moscow, and obviously Raid was in that game, right? But in terms of like new maps that actually were brought in, there were a couple of okay maps in Cold War, but nothing like spectacular that really holds up to the test of time, in my opinion. Maybe Apocalypse or something was okay. Vanguard really just had Tuscan. There was nothing else that was good there. Modern Warfare 2, Hotel, pretty highly rated. And then MW3, right? And then, you know, BO6. So, you know, if you look at the CDL era, there's not many maps that are that great at all, to be honest. And I think some of the ones in MW3 are really good. But he basically says that Modern Warfare 4 right now is a mess. It's a year out, over a year until the game comes out, but it's just as terrible as MW2. And he says that these Infinity Ward cats are the most stubborn developers known to mankind. So, yeah, we'll see. The reality is, whatever positive steps, if they do take positive steps for Black Ops 7, will probably be quickly reversed by Infinity Ward. We've seen it before. We'll probably see it again. Now, this is one of the other dramas that went down. So Shroud, legendary FPS player, massive streamer as we know, controversial for sure with his opinions on certain things, gave his opinion on the state of Call of Duty and why it's not as big of an esport as it could be. So I'll share what he has to say and then we'll talk about it.
Call of Duty on paper, because of how successful that game is, should be one of the biggest esports in the world. The main reason it's not is because the game lacks depth. There's nothing to it. You just hold mouse 1, drop shot sometimes, throw a couple lineups with smokes, cool, whatever. A couple nade lineups, that's cool. I like that they have nade lineups.
Moving wide left, I fucking
but
suck.
There's not enough, like, you can't tell the difference between player A and player B. And if you can't tell the difference between player A and player B, your game doesn't have enough depth to be a actual competitive esport. That's my, like, honest take, you know? Like, you need the differences of skill. Like, the big differences in skill. You need people to have weaknesses and strengths. But, like, esports players in Call of Duty, they're just all insane. Every single player in Call of Duty that's at the esports, you know, OpTic, they're all insane. They're just all insane, period.
Sick.
But that's not how it works.
Oh, Dad.
It's not how it's supposed to work, anyway.
My opinion is two things can be true at the same time on this. Shroud doesn't really know what he's talking about from a competitive COD perspective. Do we really do nade lineups anymore? Not really, right? Like, it strikes me that he's not really watched competitive COD in quite some time. There is a difference between Shotzzy and King of Body, for example, when you watch their play on the map. But, that being said, I still think he actually makes a pretty reasonable point in general in terms of why the game could be better, right? I mean, JP does talk about here, the skill gap has definitely gotten smaller. You go back to a game like Infinite Warfare, there was, and you know, I just mentioned that because the aim assist on that game was much weaker than it is today. People are saying, oh, get rid of dynamic aim response curve, get rid of the aim assist being as strong as it is, and you'll start to see players shoot differently. If you look at HaLo, for example, there is a skill gap there in pure gunny because it's just harder to shoot than it is in Call of Duty. That's one thing. The other thing that I think he also gets right is the depth of the game. This is the reason why I want specialists to return, because let's say you're watching Black Ops 4, the game might be 170 to 90 or whatever. The game's looking pretty lopsided in a Hassie and a hardpoint, but you know that Dashy's about to get the Tempest online, and you know that there might be a highlight play coming up, or someone's about to get the War Machine to try and break into this hardpoint. Like, there's always something extra. And also, in that example of the specialist, you get players like Dashy who are known to be really good with that power weapon. Let's say when JoeDeceives in Infinite Warfare got the FTL jump online, or Formal had it, or whatever, you know, he was usually using Camo, but you know what I'm saying? There's potential to have a great highlight moment happen here. This guy's better using this ability than this other guy, and that creates more intrigue and depth in the game. So I think that Shroud, people are going to clown on him for this, but I think in some respects he's actually right. And, you know, JP touches on a little bit of that, but I think there's a little bit more to it as well. But let's talk about the new game, because BO7 is coming up rather shortly. And there's been lots of talk about how the pros are going to play it, whether they're just going to ban everything. This is a phenomenal clip from Sloss, Adam Killer Sloss, inaugural 2013 world champion on Freako Impact back in the day, of him playing a Black Ops Cold War challenge. There was a glitch here where they would just, you wouldn't spawn in with any with any weapons or any classes at all, and he was just running around with the fist and says, hey, you know, did they just GA everything? And maybe that's what's going to happen next. There was lots of talk about this when Black Ops 7 is released. What guns are going to be allowed? Is the M8 going to get banned? Would the M8 from back in the day get banned by the soft pros of today, or whatever you want to say? Possibly. What's going to happen with some of the specialists? We think that, well, we know that active camos in the game is a field upgrade. There are going to be other specialists as well. If the Grav Slam comes back, is that cheese, right? Is it time for that to go, or is that perfectly fine? There's a reason why we don't play the game out of the box. You know, I don't think we want to be having UAVs on the map. I don't think we want to be having claymores or bouncing betties or whatever on the map. There are some things that are banned for understandable reasons, but most things go too far. I think what frustrates a lot of us in the scene is, let's say, the way that the process is managed by the pros. There's, you know, this agreement of, oh, well, if 9 of the teams agree, then we're going to ban something, but then it will also take the same amount to then unban it the other way around. Pros are in their own DM chat, and they're basically voting on what makes sense for them. This is why this idea of only the top 4 teams having a say in GAs would be awful, because the top teams would just choose, they would be in favor of banning a lot because it would sustain their advantage, right? Because if you're a top team, you've got more talent than anybody else. So you would prefer to get rid of as much cheese as possible that will give those guys a chance of upsetting you, as it were. So if this was the case, I think it would be awful. But just the process is, generally speaking, bad. The other frustrating thing is when something's banned or GA'd, it never comes back in, even if it's perfectly fine. They bring a gun in, it's overpowered, it gets banned by the pros, they nerf it, it becomes a very viable, balanced weapon. The pros never bring it back. So there's a few things that the CDL need to think about here to step in. One of the big ones, though, has been snipers. Should snipers return to the upcoming game? We've not seen it in some time. What does that look like? Now, of course, a lot of the pros, this is the other frustrating thing about the sniper discussion especially, is that they are used to not playing with it now. Ever since Cold War, when it was very strong, they've banned it. Now, in my opinion, the way to balance the sniper is how it was in games like, I mean, I'm going to say Black Ops 3, I can't help myself. But games like that, it was really balanced because there was no aim assist on the sniper when you're aiming down sight. And that meant that it took a lot of skill to use. I understand that in a game like Cold War, the snipers were really good. They were powerful and they had pretty decent aim assist as well. They were real easy to use and yeah, they were very strong. But smokes also did exist in that game. There were counters to it. And look, in my opinion, the counter to a sniper is also another sniper. Like back in World War II, yeah, we had smokes that they were using in that game, but you know, if you're going to cry about a guy on the other team pulling a snipe out, I'll pull it out. I'll go to the same spot that he goes to, and if he wants to peek into me on defense, then unlucky, I'm going to take him down if I can hit the shot. And to be fair, with the advanced movement that we now have, the sliding, the dolphin diving, actually hitting these shots is not easy. I remember a clip on, it was Rewind earlier this year, people were saying, oh, it's literally impossible to make this cross because if someone's got a sniper, you're going to die every single time. And the guy was making the cross, and the sniper was never hitting him because, like, you know, they were saying, oh, it's impossible to actually run to this bomb site because the sniper's just going to get you every time and there's no smoke to counter it. Well, he doesn't always hit the shot. It's like the same in Counter-Strike. If the guy's got an AWP, yeah, you can use a flash, you can use a smoke in that game to try and get out. But sometimes you've got to throw a little jiggle, right? Throw a little shoulder peek, get him to miss, and then you can swing him. That's part of the game if you've run out of utility. So, you know, it's a big talking point, obviously, with the snipers. As I say, I think it's a frustration that because they've been gone from the game for some time, people tend to want that to continue to be the case from a pro player angle, but Zuma did say that he's been speaking with some of the developers and Activision themselves and the league to try and find a way to effectively force the pros to use it. When we bullied the pros to using the snipers in the first event of Vanguard, it was the kickoff that year, the pros banned them, and we basically forced them to use them by throwing a fit, and it worked. They used them at the kickoff, and guess what? Half the teams that were moaning about the snipers being too strong didn't even use one, and those that didn't find it to be that good. I think Shotzzy's opinion is also reasonable to say, look, as long as there's a counter to it, it's okay. If the smokes are in, then it's fine. But, you know, my opinion is that the counter to a sniper is also just another sniper.
But I will agree with the snipe shit, chat. I will agree with the snipe shit. I know, like, at least my take on it, from a competitive standpoint, chat, I'm just going to be honest, that shit doesn't really take skill. Just playing against it, and well, I mean, I could go.
Depends on the game.
I could just go.
Depends on the game.
I could just go in depth. Like, there's like our maps that we play are just super.
Maps are horrible. Like, yeah, like respectfully, you know what I mean?
The maps are every single time.
Just
Like, I'll give you an example, Chad. Let me just give you an example. So like, I'm just not saying bullshit. So imagine like protocol, right? Like, let's just say you're defense, you go low spiral, and then like the odds of you getting like a collat of them going through like down zip on the opposite side is like really, really high. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like other map or like other. Like CS2, they don't have that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, because it's like just. I mean, the game's made for competitive, so it definitely helps.
Just so you guys know, pretty sure we're on your guys' side. The snipes, at least I wanted them in.
I want them in. As long as there's good smokes.
Yeah, as long as there's counter it,
Yeah.
I don't mind it being in. That's how we've always gone about it every year. But, I mean, obviously, everyone in the comp scene is like, oh, it takes no skill, so. Which I see their argument. That's why, like, it's kind of, I don't know.
One sniper or, like, unlimited
Yeah,
snipers?
just one sniper.
The only way I'll not like snipers if there's no smokes or the smokes are like awful or something.
Yeah, that's where it gets tricky. Because I think the only year that we had it like that was, what, Vanguard? We had snipes in.
There were smokes in that game.
Or like when the smoke,
yeah,
when the
MW2
smokes are
smokes.
one-wayable, like I don't.
But
Like, sometimes I don't like
MW3
when
can
you
one way.
can snipe when there's one-wayable smokes too.
I feel like
MW3
MW3 was a good smoke game though. Like the smoke actually played really well in that game.
And you could have sniped in that game?
No, you can snipe.
What? Okay, I'm not gonna
But
lie,
to
that
be
doesn't make
fair,
sense.
on that game, like the maps were kind of like high-rise invasion, where you could literally snipe the guy off spawn in high-rise like it's MW2.
That's true. That's why
I'm down for that though.
It's nice for everything to have a counter. I think that's a nice way for a game to be designed. Like in Black Ops 2, if you throw an EMP grenade out there, you can use hardwired as a perk to counter it. If I've got a thermal scope, you can run cold-blooded, for example, to counter it. There are some options, and if I go to a head glitch, there should be in good map design another counter head glitch. But not everything is always going to have a counter, right? Like my bullets have no counter. Like if I'm shooting you in the head, like, there's no counter to that. The counter is you shoot me back first. So some things should have a counter and that can be well designed, but something like active camo, maybe it does have a, for example, in Black Ops 3, you could throw an EMP and it would stop the active camo. But, Heat Wave. Does Heat Wave in Black Ops 3 have a counter? Does the Tempest have a counter? No. The counter is you get one yourself, right? The counter is you need to use your one better than they're using their one. And that's just part of the game. And that's perfectly fine in my opinion. Someone pops camo and scores a 2-point dunk. Okay, we need to use our camo to also get a 2-point play. Like, that's just part of the game. So the idea of, the sniper, because it doesn't have a counter, it's got to be banned, that would mean that so many things would have to be banned, right? Like, all sorts of weaponry would have to be banned, especially when it comes to specialists that might come back as well. So anyway, Scrap was in the replies and says, El dumbasses, get good at the game, counter it by running in a zigzag. Honestly, just quit to retire, you're running this into the ground. It's pretty funny, right? Because Scrap's kind of, let's say, echoing the community perspective that he gets. And I also get this from Scrap's point of view. It's like, well, damn, Shotzzy just said that he doesn't really want snipers in unless they have a strong counter. That's the point that Scrap's been making for some time, and Scrap gets canned for it and OpTic don't. So I do get that perspective from Scrap. Like, you guys know my opinion. I know the opinion of the community in general. So thought it was pretty interesting. Intrigued as ever to hear your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.
The fuck? I don't even have classes. What is going on, bro? What the fuck, dude? Wow, FaZe only? Is everything G8? What the fuck?